We've got almost 50 people in the room, so we may as well get started. We're only about a minute early here, according to my big clock on the wall. Good morning, DePaul, or good afternoon. Mark Miller also in the house. Daniel Kester, good friend. Ember Miss 69, checking things out. Randall Green, Idris Taylor, Scott Summers, Bob Flugan. What's up, my dudes? Duffin, 2007. Greetings all. Padre, a.k.a. Padre. Hello all. Steve G. Hi, Steve and friends from San Diego. Janie Segrist was just watching the daily video. Oh yeah, I do. I still do those, right? Sometimes I listen to myself. Have you ever wondered how much there is to know versus how much you need to know? And not to be confused with what you actually think you know, but isn't actually correct. 858 Bill is just going to ring in 1978 again. 1978 was not a bad year. It's not a bad year. I wouldn't mind reliving 78 again. I could think of a few others that wouldn't have such fond memories of, but 78 would be okay. Greets from Milwaukee, says M. Kolba. And aloha from Louisiana, just mixing and matching regions right there. Darkwood 777. Kimberly Kester in the house. Prodigal Stranger. You're watching Lehto's live. Canuter Valve. Go Wings. Yeah. I guess the Red Wings are doing pretty good. I think the Pistons are too, right? Oh, and so is Michigan basketball. I might have to spend a couple of years cheering for Michigan basketball over Michigan football due to recent events in the news. Dan Boyd, Conelrad. Okay, believe in yourself. Good afternoon, Steve and chat. Telly NZ. Hi, y'all. Is that checking in from New Zealand, or is there another purpose to that abbreviation? So, RC Westall. Hi, Steve. Hi, RC. Stop spamming M. Greetings from Virginia. X. Endeavor X. Hello. Thanks for everything you do. Well, you're welcome. Miko Angel QW. Hi, Steve. See, I don't always know how to pronounce these things. It looks like a line from an eye chart. What of? Yay. Dan Boyd. Greg Benson in the house. So this morning I was actually watching some videos on the YouTube, and people occasionally do ask me. Oh, by the way, rest in peace, Bridget Bardot. 858 Bill. Bridget Bardot passed away. Kind of like a French Marilyn Monroe, but if Marilyn Monroe hadn't passed at such a young age. But Bridget Bardot, I kind of forgot she was still around. But yeah, and back in her heyday, she was quite the dish, as they would say back then. Donald Westerdale, ahoy mates from Gross Eel. Randall Green, 40840. Do you have any more stories about stuff you almost bought? No, but I got stories about things I almost did. Telling New Zealand. Yep, Steve, joining you from Monday morning in New Zealand. Well, thank you for checking. I love the thought of New Zealand. I've never been there. I do plan on going there one day. I will go to New Zealand and visit with my friends. I've got friends in New Zealand. I had friends in Australia, and sadly, one of them passed. Very, very sad. So you got to get these things taken care of. I had somebody once ask me though, what kind of other channels do you watch? Do you watch a lot of like lawyer channels? No, I don't. I do not. I do not watch a lot of other lawyer channels. My top 5 channels that I watch on a daily basis for my entertainment, not in any particular order. I love Patrick Boyle. He's an economist from England. It's fascinating. I've mentioned Itchy Boots before, the woman who rides her motorcycle all over the world. Davey 504, the bassist. Love that guy. Rick Beato, of course, I've mentioned him before. And, of course, Sam Crack. And I probably should say that I also do watch Pilot Debrief with Hoover. But that wouldn't be 5. That'd be 6. So I guess my top 6 channels that I watch those all regularly, depending on what else is out there. And occasionally watch reruns of Mystery Science Theater. Some of them are real classics. So I love that. Rano 1506, thank you. I enjoy your video. Yeah, Canuter Valve, got to rest in peace, the arrow dude, the guy who's decided that they should put an arrow next to your gas gauge to tell you what side of your car your gas filler is on. And what's weird is I don't know why it's been around so long. I just assumed that they've always been around. And I started thinking about it, going, well, no, obviously my Charger didn't have one, 69 Dodge Charger. And I started thinking about cars, and it wasn't until probably I was 7 or 8 cars into my career where I was like, oh, that's got that little arrow there. And it's often so tiny and small that you don't notice it unless you're looking for it. And sometimes it is literally just almost like a partial diamond, a little triangle pointing to one side or the other. But there's all you need. Bob Kerflugen loves Mystery Science Theater 3000. Hey, Janie Seacrest says you're one of my top 5 channels. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Somebody sent me some kind of compilation of what they had watched in the last year, and it listed, and I was right up there at the top. So I appreciate that. Blood Striker, has anyone ever sued a neighbor because they have a rat rod in the driveway? I don't know about a lawsuit, but I would imagine that a homeowners association might complain if they think the car's got bad patina. I've done stories about people who've got a truck with patina in their driveway, and the HOA comes by and goes, "Hey, that patina, we call that corrosion or rust." Blah 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 says it's the way most of life is. You don't notice it unless you're looking at it or looking for it. I got it right in my head and then I said it wrong. Oh. Hello, all. Grizz 7000. Lewis Browning says some cars don't have an arrow, they use the gas pump handle. And Darkwood said the same thing. I've never seen that I'm aware of. I'm not sure if I'd make note of it, though. CM call 987. How long would it take just to walk around the car to see which side the tank is on? Well, that involves you getting out of the car and walking around the car. And so if you're in an unfamiliar car you've never put gas in before, like you picked up a rental car in the rain and you're going to pull into a gas station, it'd be nice to know which side it's on. Otherwise, you got to stop and get out and walk around and go, oh, it's on that side, and then move your car. So Canuterval says the gas fill could be behind the plate if it's a classic. Yeah, I mentioned that in the video. And also, I have, 2 cars that have got the big old cool racing gas cap. A racing gas cap. So Daniel Kester, the 65 T-Bird, had it behind the license plate. I remember at a gas station, I got pretty good at knowing where the license plates or the where the gas filler was, whether behind a license plate. And I remember once actually putting gas in a car where it was behind the rear tail light. I'm thinking it was a Chevy, but I could be wrong. Seth Mulvaney, I build cars. Love your show. Well, I appreciate that. Hey, Mexican Specs in the house. Hello, all. He's going to ask, but I've got a mismatched cup here today. I could have grabbed the blue one, but I don't do that on purpose. So there you go. Richard Terhune says, I try to watch every live, but I'm usually at work every Sunday. We are allowed to use our phones at work. So what, you can listen to them or what? Blood Striker, have you ever owned a Ford Pinto? No. I once owned a Chevy Vega for a short period of time, and I spent about half a year, maybe a year, driving a Gremlin, all in that same group of just horrible little cars. Don't get me wrong. If you had no money to spend and you want to buy a car for like $100 in 1979, you could probably get yourself a rusty Pinto. And for $100 back then, was okay. But Multi-Poo, the 61 Alpha had the fuel filler in the trunk. Probably kept people from stealing your gas, though, right? CM Cole says, if I rent a car, I'm inspecting it, making sure things are okay. Yeah, but, the whole point is that every person at one time or another in their life will be in a car for whatever reason. They borrowed a car from somebody. They were in a hurry. Here, you drive, that kind of thing. They won't know which side it's on. And we're not claiming it's the most important invention since the bread slicer or the cheese grater. We're just saying it's a neat little thing. It costs the car companies about 1/1,000,000th of a cent to put it there. So it's not a bad thing. Steve Harmon, did you meet Bobby Isaac? No, I did not. He passed away in 1977, August of 1977. He passed away the same week that Elvis Presley died. And I was a bit young. I didn't know who Bobby Isaac was at that time. My uncle probably did, because I had an uncle who raced stock cars back then. But I never got a chance to meet him. And he was not exactly an extrovert. So not a lot of people got to meet him. Unless they were racers, went out of their way. Bob Blah Blah says on a 66 VW Bug, the gas tank was in the front frunk, which is of course a front trunk. And did you have to lift the hood to get at that? I've seen a few of those vehicles that did that. MH08 says flunked the emissions because of the gas cap, got a new one, went back, and the inspector took the little strap that attached to the cap of the car. Didn't notice until I had to buy gas. Yeah, it's kind of funny because the cars that have got the cool racing filler caps that I've got, there's a secondary plastic cap underneath there that comes completely off. And I either will keep it in my hand, like I'm never going to put this thing down because I'm scared I'm going to lose it, or I'll put it someplace where there's no way I could forget it. I'm always paranoid about forgetting that cap someplace. James Chamelik typed something. I'm not sure if his hand is in the wrong home row or what, but mentions a gas station near MacArthur Park or someone left a cake out in the rain. Richard Chahoon, yes, some cars had them underneath or behind the license plate. Paul Thomas has pulled up on the wrong side of the pump for years on cars he's owned for months. Sometimes you just forget. Like I said, I've got a couple different cars, and it's on one side on one car, it's on the other side on another car, and on the Jeep it's on the back. But I do usually have to think, okay, which car is this? But you know, yeah, Bob Blah Blah says I'd always wedge the gas cap into the nozzle. Was talking about the handle, the pump handle at the stations that didn't have the locking handles. Sad part is I know a couple of gas stations that don't have those, and I'll avoid going to them because they're either broken or they took them out or something. I'd like to be able to put it there and stand there. I wouldn't have to stand there with my hand on the whole time. Blood Striker is pointing out the Pinto's gas tank was in the very back of the car and had a massive issue with earlier models where a simple rear end could cause the Pinto to combust. Yeah, and it had a lot to do with the way bolts were placed back there. And in a rear end collision, if the bolts got poked through the gas tank, and then where the gas tank was in relation to the passengers in the car and so on. But yeah, I seem to recall that was in the news a bit back then. John the Beagle Dad says, have you mentioned whether or not you liked F1, the movie, or the Ford versus Ferrari movie better? I haven't seen F1. I just haven't seen it. It didn't hit my radar. Sisu 2 I've seen, and I like that one a lot. Showstrom, have you had any fun with the post office lately? I've been lucky lately, but I've mentioned before, I got a P.O. box in Atlas, Michigan. And the guy who works behind the counter in Atlas, Michigan is a really nice guy. And I don't have any trouble at all with that. But I have had stuff in the past that kind of disappeared, but it was stuff I was sending out. So it's been a while. I think COVID caused a lot of problems that we'll never recover from. Philip, 63 VW convertible had the gas cap under the front bonnet or hood. Tim Nossum, Costco has the extra long hoses, but I do appreciate the invention. Yeah, I'm always worried. I've seen people pull in and they're too lazy to move once they realize they're wrong, and they're stretching the hose around their car. Oh, Bob Blah Blah points out on the gas tanks behind the license plate, if you forgot to put the cap on, you lost half your gas in the first time you took off. I remember seeing that happen. I never did it, but I had a guy I worked with at the gas station years ago who forgot to put a gas cap back on, and it was a locking gas cap to make it even worse. The guy's like, so he goes back, he unlocks the gas cap for the attendant, and then the attendant puts the cap on top of the pump, fills the guy's tank up, and the guy drives off and comes back like an hour later, and he's like, there's gasoline everywhere, and you never put the cap back on. And the guy was upset because how do we figure out how much gas the guy lost because of that? Darkwood says exploding Chrysler on the movie Bullet was good. There's a lot of debate about that chase scene because Steve McQueen's driving a Mustang and the bad guys are driving a Charger. And I was rooting for the Charger. I don't care if Steve McQueen was Mr. Cool or not. CM Call, I knew a person who owned and drove a Pinto in 2000. Is that even possible? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be old. And the one thing that people don't understand is the way they got those cars to be sellable so cheaply is that they were made really cheaply. And so Vegas and Pintos and Gremlins and so on, most of them are in junkyards. They're disposable cars. And one other reason is that people didn't think they were worth saving if something went wrong with them. So Janie Seagrass says most of the casino gas stations in Western Washington have the extra long hoses as well. Are the casino gas stations considered to be on tribal land, and do they get away not paying or charging state sales tax? I know there's a couple of gas stations in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan that are on technically reservation land, and they've got gas that is substantially cheaper than anybody else, and the lines are huge, and they move a lot of gas. Showstrom says, when do you fill up your car? Is it half empty, near empty, or have you seen no line as you're driving by? Depends on the car. But like I don't like to drive any of my cars too close to empty. But if I'm told a story recently, I forgot where, but I was driving up north and I was distracted. And there's a stretch of I-75 where there are literally tens of miles between exits or gas stations. And I know that stretch so well that I know that, the next gas station is not going to, and I missed an exit that had the last gas station for like 12 miles. So I'm like, okay, I'll get off at exit 212 where there's a gas station. There's a bunch of them right there. And I looked at my thing and it goes, you got 9 miles to empty or 10 miles to empty. And I'm like, uh-oh. Luckily, it's an estimate. And I managed to just squeak into the gas station about 5 minutes after passing 0 miles to empty. 0 miles to empty. Lee Dobbins says Costco people are always on the wrong side every time I go. Maybe the pumps are on the wrong side. You never know. Canuter Ralph says Dirty Mary Crazy Larry. Well, yeah, of course. It's one of the greatest car chase movies of all time. Back when car chases were actually a proper subject matter for what's the movie about? It's a car chase. Oh, cool. It's a love story. It's a rom-com. It's a car chase. 69 Dodge Charger, although they did use a 68 Charger in some shots. So if you go back and look at it, you will actually see some stills where it's a 68. But they, for whatever reason, Hollywood was beating up on the Chargers back in the day. Janie Seagrass says, yes, tribal land exempt from home, some sales tax, but I think the green tax still sticks. I'm not sure. Darkwood, is New Jersey the only state where you can't pump your own gas? I believe that is now true. Jay Klein suggests filling up at a quarter tank because in the past he's burned up a few fuel pumps on his '07 Saab. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, if it's possible, it could damage something, but it depends. Jerry Dodge, greetings from Kalamazoo. Nasty weather today, getting way worse tomorrow. The rain is washing the salt off the roads, but it'll freeze tonight. Yeah. Oh, you're going to be in Three Oaks tomorrow? Yeah, Three Oaks, not far from Three Rivers. They were running out of names. But yeah, it's raining right now. And in fact, I can see water. Oh, there's a deer. This is funny. Hang on a second. Through the wonders of modern technology, I'm going to take a picture of a deer in my backyard, right? Put your ears up. Oh, come on. There we go. Well, okay. So I'm looking out my back window now to see if it's raining. And I look and I see, hang on, let's see if I can do this right. What? Why is this not working? I've done this before and it worked. There, can we see that? At least I'm not lying. Let's put it that way. Okay. Wandered over there. Well, anyway, just trust me. I've looked out recently and seen 8 or 9 at one time, but it depends. Some days I don't see them at all. Donald Westerdale says Massachusetts still has full service stations. Yeah, the question is, are they required by law though? Although I'm not sure of any more full service stations now in Michigan. There was one for a long time at 15 Mile Road and Telegraph Road, but that went away. Yeah, Moxie goes, it does look a lot like a donkey. It's colored like a donkey. But yeah, it's a deer. Code Mr. Beats. I've got a butt ton of deer at my house. If I was a hunter, I wouldn't have to leave the porch. Oh, I could sit out back and pick them up for target practice if I wanted to. So Sluga John, hello, Steve. Good afternoon. Happy New Year. And to you, my friend. David P 2888, put a saddle on that thing. No, ride it bareback. Just jump on and grab it by the scruff of its neck. Actually, I'd pay money to see someone try that. Like bronco busting, where you can ride it for 10 seconds. If you can ride a deer for 10 seconds bareback, I'll flip you a hundo. Bob Kerflugen says there's a full service station in Gaylord a couple years ago. Well, actually, I just remember this. There was a full service station in Mackinac City too. And I remember I pulled in once and I got out and the guy goes, "No need, I'll pump it for you." And at first I thought, like, is this like a homeless guy trying to make money? And I go, "Do you work here?" And he goes, "Yeah, why do you think I'd offer?" I'm like, dude, you got to admit it's unusual. He goes, No, I get that all the time. Bill McMahon, Vanishing Point's my favorite car chase movie. That's classic. That's right up there. I assume you mean the original one. Because the original one's got the mini bike scene. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you never saw it or you're not a guy. Greg Benson, have you seen Vanishing Point? As noted, yes. Oh. Showstrom says there's a tribe in Mongolia of reindeer herders who ride the reindeer on a daily basis. There are some animals that we just know will never get used to the idea about a person sitting on their backs, but it's quite possible that that's happening in Mongolia. Of course, there's also a lot of reindeer herds up in the north end of Finland, Sweden, and Norway. So I wouldn't be surprised if they could happen up there too. Blah, blah, blah. We had a station that would pump your gas for 10 cents a gallon more if you asked. And many stations have a sign saying if you're handicapped or somehow have a disability that you can't pump it, we will come out and pump it for you. You just got to let us know. So there you go. Scott Summers is full service on Mackinac Island. I wonder about, because there are some vehicles out there. I'm assuming since they're all government vehicles, the municipality would have to have some way to fuel them up. Of course, I was talking about Mackinac City, the other end of the Mackinac Bridge. Jerry Dodge, what would you consider the greatest movie of all time? Not your personal favorite, but the greatest. Well, greatest to me or greatest to other people? I mean, I've got a few that I like, but every time we bring this up, it starts arguments, and somehow people get angry. So, Eugenio Vasquez, do people ride moose? See, I think a moose is an animal that's large enough to basically convey the idea to you, I don't want you riding me, and if you try, you're going to get hurt. And so I don't think anybody's ever tried. So Quinn Vids, your channel's made me very interested in consumer protection as someone who's starting law school in the fall. Very cool. Congratulations. Hang in there. It's going to be a lot of work. But you can do it. And consumer protection is a field which most people don't get into because it's not as sexy as I don't know, mass torts or something. But you can actually get some job satisfaction out of it. I've had people who contacted 20 other attorneys who wouldn't take their case. And I'm like, this is a good case. What are you talking about? And later they're like, oh my gosh, that was so nice of you. So JP says, I've got pictures of a guy in my dad's hometown. He had trained a moose to pull a wagon. Could he ride the moose though? I'm just thinking there's something about a natural instinct that people have that that all living beings have when something gets behind them and is literally back here. If you ever want to freak a dog out, reach down and do that to the back of its neck with your hand and watch a dog freak out. Just don't do it to one that bites. Chuck Whitehead, I think moose scare bears. Yeah, I think the only thing that really can take down a moose is a pack of wolves, and it would take a pack to do it. Yeah, and KB Jerky says moose have been trained to be work animals to pull things here in Canada. Dan Boyd, deer can be quite dangerous. Well, especially with deer and automobile interactions, as we say. Jerry Dodge says, statistically speaking, I assume you're talking about, like, say, Rotten Tomatoes or something. The Shawshank Redemption is the greatest movie of all time. Yeah, it's the most highly rated, and people like it a lot. The Godfather is second. Quite frankly, I don't care for The Godfather. I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't do it for me. Schindler's List is number 5. So Lock Watcher. Good afternoon, Steve. Jellyfish, PB, do you still move the $100 bill in the back? Yes, and you can't see it right now because it's right past the Bucky and kind of tucked in behind the Viper. But that's where it was in the last video I shot. Dan Boyd says plenty of junkies loitering in the bus stop shelter in front of my neighborhood gas station to be happy to help. I've pulled into a gas station in another country, and there were people who would offer to pump your gas for you, who didn't work at the gas station, but they would be pushy about it. And I had locals tell me, just let them do it and flip them a couple bucks. And I'm like, if this wasn't a rental car, I wouldn't let them do it. But Free the birds read someplace that moose bites can be pretty nasty. I once jokingly put at the end of a video, a moose once bit my sister, and somebody goes, "Is she okay?" And somebody else goes, "Wait, I didn't know you had a sister." M. Dawn for Love of the Game. That's an obscure little baseball movie. Now, it's a good movie. I like that movie. I'm not sure if I've watched it that many times, but Don Jackson, love your videos. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I really do. Bob Loblaw says, "Hey, Steve, what's the new name tag hanging on the lawyer dog sign?" Right about, hang on, I got to do this right. Right about there. I've got 2 professional grade lights over here with the tents on them. And I've got stuff hanging on them that you can't see on camera. And I was walking by the other day, I'm like, I've got all this cool stuff hanging right here. I should put some of it on camera, but it's stuff you hang. And I realized, one of the things that's hanging there is it's on a clip with a retractable thing. And it's the name tag from when I attended the National Association of Attorneys General down in Florida about 5 years ago. This is Steve Lehto, National Association of Attorneys General, with a year or something. Now that's kind of cool. So I put it there, but I know you can't read it on screen. So there you go. Daniel Kester didn't care for The Godfather either. Eugenio Vasquez, Scarface. Hey, it's a movie that had an active role for a chainsaw. Lewis Browning says that I changed the plate in the In-N-Out illegal in Florida plate frame. Yeah, I swapped that plate out a couple days ago. I also put another plate at the other side, which would be, as you're looking at it, top left row. It says Project Blue Jay Williams International. And that is a replica of the plate that is currently on the front end of Jay Leno's turbine car in honor of Williams International doing the work on it. Sub GR77, what's the most underrated or underappreciated movie? Oh, I know a bunch of obscure movies. I mentioned, I've never heard of that. And I can think of a couple very good ones. For instance, the movie Insomnia, which was a Christopher Nolan film with a bunch of famous people in it, is a very good movie. Okay, but it's based on a movie I believe made in Sweden that is a million times better, but it's in Swedish. So you gotta watch it with subtitles. But it is so much better. It is amazing. It is amazing. And that's an example of when I saw it on some obscure cable channel years ago. I've only seen it once or twice. On that, that's it. So JKLXYX3629. Anyone else paying attention to the price of silver? Yeah, silver just hit a historic high, like $70 an ounce. It's crazy. What's weird is it fluctuates more than gold does, and so silver is spiking. The problem with silver, though, is if you go to a place that buys and sells silver, they'll buy it for $35 an ounce and then sell it for 70. It's like, wait, it's a pretty big market. Well, we're taking a chance on that. Ember Mist, I know over time, some things you talk about, products you love. Question is, do you use an electric shaver? I do. I use a little, I think it's called a Solo. Hang on. This is not a product endorsement. It is simply me talking about yeah. Oh, no. It's called a Norelco One Blade. A Norelco One Blade. It's a lot like a Solo, but I use the Norelco. And not that expensive. And I actually, the heads last a decent amount of time. And I don't care for shaving with the whipped cream and all that stuff. It just Dan Boyd, Kentucky Fried Movie. When it comes to comedies, I mean, Airplane, Monty Python's Holy Grail, things like that are so up there, and you couldn't pick just one. You know, they're all so good. Mike Lackner was making cheese and got distracted. Really? Okay. Daniel Kester, Bambi meets Godzilla. Have they done that one yet? That sounds like a pretty cool mashup. I put my money on the gigantic fire-breathing lizard. I don't know why. Darkwood says I shave every 2 weeks now that I'm retired. Donald Westerton, don't forget Groove Tube. I think Groove Tube and Kentucky Fried Movie were shown as a double feature at the drive-ins back in the day. Miko Angel QW, I sent the I Speak Jive clip to somebody yesterday and it killed. Greatest thing ever was an Airplane 2 when they were trying the case and they had to bring in a translator. Oh, boy. Vampire Bear, I have to go back to bed. Have a blessed day, everyone. You too, my friend. Thank you for checking, if even for just a moment or two. Sub GR, did anybody get anything good for Christmas? I got 3 Corvettes. 2 are die-cast, and the other needs to be assembled from little bricks. Oh, boy. Yeah, Mike Lagner says, I love the boat discussion, which, by the way, it turns out I was even more right than I thought I was, because it turns out there are authentic, authoritative sources that say iron ore carriers on the Great Lakes by tradition are referred to as boats. And so anybody who says I'm wrong to call it a boat, go argue with other people. Don't argue with me about it. I've never assigned genders to any of my vehicles. It doesn't seem right. What about the old army truck? No, nope. I would just call it the old deuce and a half. And I don't find myself using pronouns a lot talking about my vehicles. I know people who do, you know, or they name their cars. I don't do that either. I just say I'm going to take the Explorer, or the Jeep, or the Viper, or the Cobra. You know. Oh boy. M Dawn 5665. Aloha and howdy. Yeah, Sam calls my cousin. He's got a funny scene regarding cars in the court. We've talked about, mentioned that it's not my favorite movie when it comes to legal stuff. It's decent. I thought there were a couple of things in there that were really wrong, but what I did like was the fact that he goes, "I'm going to qualify this woman as an expert," and a lot of people probably thought, "Oh boy, that's Hollywood going crazy." No, I taught trial practice for 10 years, trial practice, okay, at law school. I assure you that many people that you'd never think of this way could get qualified as experts in something, because all you have got to be able to do is demonstrate to the court that you have a certain level of understanding of something that will help you aid the court in explaining something to the jury. And I've told people before that I absolutely could be brought in and qualified as an expert on how a metal detector works in practice. In other words, what are the odds that somebody could take a metal detector out in the yard and find something? I could talk about that all day long because I've got thousands and thousands of hours doing that. And the main experts I use in real life are mechanics. And it's easy to say this guy's and I apologize, but I've never used a woman mechanic in court. But I've had mechanics, certified masters, and I come into court and I go, "This guy's a certified master. Here's his CV. I'm going to be moving that he's admitted as an expert." And 9 times out of 10, I'll ask my opponent, "Do you object to that, or you stipulate to it?" And usually they'll stipulate. But what are they going to do? Fight it? Because if you put all his qualifications in front of the jury, they're like, "Wow, this guy really is an expert." Hey, JP says that he named my Jeep before I owned it. And so the question I have is now, is that name stuck? Like, do I have a choice on that? So JP, he says, your red Jeep, which I used to own, was called Clifford the Big Red Jeep by myself and my girlfriend. See, I never thought about that. I don't know that trumps what I'm doing because I just assumed it had no name. But I did, in fact, buy my Jeep from JP. And by the way, it's still running great. Done no maintenance to it at all. I did check the antifreeze with a hydrometer. And I also did put in some fresh antifreeze to top it off. I did replace the overflow for the antifreeze. I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you or not, because something led me to believe that it was cracked, and it may have been dripping. And a brand new one was like $20. So you pop out and no tools. You pop out the old and pop in the new, and boom, there you go. So Clifford, the Big Red Jeep. I got to remember that now. I got to figure this out. I got to go to the experts and find out if I'm bound by the previous name, especially if I wasn't told that at the time. Carl's Corner. Hello, Steve. Better late than never. Hey, some people never make it at all. Andrew Kruchowski. What about The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino? I'll tell you right now, there's one very good line in that movie where Al Pacino is talking about God and earth, and he goes, he's an absentee landlord. Oh. Dan Boyd had never named a car, but I have called them some names. Usually I get mad at the parts of cars. I've gotten mad at a bolt that won't come off. But I'm not sure if I've ever actually gotten mad at a car itself. Because in my mind, if the car breaks down, it's my fault, right? I didn't catch something or fix something or stay on top of something. Prodigal Stranger news of the day. Steve has a special lady friend. Where'd that come from? Because JP was talking about his girlfriend, not mine. Oh. 858 Bill, but if both sides have experts that give opposing testimony, would one side be guilty of perjury? No, they're giving opinions. Expert opinion. And an opinion can't be false. It was hot yesterday. You're lying. That's perjury. It's my opinion. It was hot. Lion Zookeeper, my daughter named my Hyundai Elantra the Hyundai enchilada. Oh, Jay Klein, have you ever seen an absence of malice? Yes, I have. And last time we saw a leak this large, Noah built himself a boat. That's a great line from that movie. Paul Newman. And that is a very, very good movie. I like that movie a lot. And it's not a legal movie in the sense that they don't go to court, but there's prosecutors and judges and all kinds of fun stuff going on. That is a very good movie. If you've not seen that movie, it's a little slower moving because it's an older one, but I would highly recommend it. William Page. Good afternoon, Steve. Lock Watcher, like both Runaway Jury and Class Action. I've seen both. I like Class Action a little better. Runaway Jury, I thought was a little So Darkwood 777. How do I wrap 4 calling birds? No, you just put them in the tree and hope they get along with a partridge, and then you're all set. David Zaradnansky says my late wife used to refer to the Suzuki Grand Vitara as a Suzuki Grand Viagra. Except most people, the reaction they got from a Suzuki Grand Vitara was not all that positive. Steve 2, Clue 23 up. What is the new item on your set on the right side of the low flying owls sign? I'm not sure. There's so much junk back there. Oh. Zoni in 1966, you've got a terrific memory of your quoting lines from Absence of Malice. Well, it's such a great line. And it's Wilford Brimley. So he says it perfectly in a very authoritative voice. He's a judge. And somebody just told him there was a leak. And the leak was so serious. And he goes, last time we had a leak like that, Noah built himself a boat. I think he said Noah built himself. Himself. I don't think there was an M in there. Himself a boat. Bob Kerflugen says Harrison wants to know why I like watching you so much. Hey, if I knew, I'd figure it out and improve upon it and get more viewers. Because I'm non-offensive. I don't know. I took the watch up, by the way. I kept hitting my desk with it. So. Jerry Dodge says, whenever you receive a T-shirt from a fan, where in the queue does it get inserted? Oh no, they go immediately in the front of the queue. But I don't go to my PO box every single day. But when I get them, I bring them home. I unwrap them. I run them through the wash one time, so it can take a little while to get up there, but they'll get there eventually. American Tours 9244. Noah didn't build himself a ship. Here's the interesting thing. It wasn't self-propelled, and it wasn't actually propelled in any manner. It simply floated. And so the question is, does it even qualify as a boat? It's just a thing that just goes where the wave action and winds take it. And it didn't have sails, but I'm thinking it's more a boat than anything else. If nothing else, it's probably a barge. Hang on a second. I got to look something up. Oh, hang on. I know this is exciting, but I got to figure something out here really quickly. Yeah, I guess you're right. Wilford Brimley was not the judge; he was the assistant AG in that scene. I apologize. I just remember that he was a shooter from way up the food chain, so to speak. Yeah, Shex Densmore says technically Noah built a raft. I was thinking you could call it a barge, because a raft to me is something that I just picture not having sides to it. Like a side to keep people from falling. And I always think of a larger floating thing as a barge. I could be wrong though. Now, I was not looking at watercraft. I was looking at Wilford Brimley's role in Absence of Malice. It's been a while. Oh boy. Yeah, old paints as raft implies no sides or interior. Yeah, well built. Noah's barge lacks gravitas. Fatty Butterpants, gonna need a bigger boat. Gonna need a bigger ship. Oh. KB Jerky, rumor has the Ark had several decks. Well, the other thing about it is that the Ark, if you go back and this, is it like Deuteronomy? Is it no? That's probably in Genesis, right? The Ark's construction described in the Bible. It's not exactly blueprints, okay? Oh boy. Dan Boyd says Ark could imply that Noah had electricity on his boat, only if he was welding, right? Oh. Yeah, Aviva Rabinowitz says, yeah, it's Genesis. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I'm going, wait a second, it has to be in Genesis. All the biblical stuff is in Genesis. Joking. JWC, wishing you all the best the coming year, and to you, my friend. Appreciate that. Daniel Kester says Genesis chapter 6. And Lockwatcher, I saw that message before you retracted it. Steve G, what's a cubit? Isn't a cubit the length from the tip of your fingers to your elbow? Could be. Blah, blah, blah. Didn't they find remnants of Noah's Ark on Oak Island? That's one of the few things that they've speculated but have not actually found out there. Don't get me going. Do not. Oh, Tom Thomas is an engine or a motor? It depends. Boat motor can be a gasoline engine. That'll mess with your head. Darkwoods, I enjoyed it when Perry Mason would use the term subpoena ducus tecum in the early episodes, which is a Latin appendage slapped on a subpoena. A subpoena, of course, is an order to appear or to do something, because a subpoena can actually order you to come to court, but can also order you to testify, and it can order you to produce things. And a subpoena ducus tecum can be served on somebody that says, come to court and bring these things with you if you have them. So it's not uncommon that an accountant will get hit with a subpoena ducus tecum that'll say, you got to show up in court and bring the books with you so you can testify about what you've been doing with the books, for example. Doug Jones, engine oil, motor oil. Mike Lackner, I fall asleep to Oak Island every Tuesday. And trust me, you'll never miss anything if you do fall asleep. You might say, Steve, why do you watch it then? When I was a little kid, I read the same article in Reader's Digest about Oak Island, but I was a little kid. And to see grown men, if somebody out there said, Steve, they've created a stock, like an IPO type stock in the Oak Island venture. Do you want to buy stock? I'd say no. I will sell everything I own, raise cash, and I'll short it because I know they're never going to find anything out there. It's the biggest boondoggle ever, and the fact that they're just boondoggling away, putting it on TV, they're just another season. You could take shows from 5 seasons ago and mix them with shows from today, and they wouldn't even look any different. Greg Stevens caught you live. Just wanted to show support. Well, thank you. I appreciate it very much. And keep in mind, I do these shows, generally speaking, most Sundays, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock Eastern time. So Locke watches Anatomy of a Murder, which is what I've always said. That's my favorite law movie out there. It has a few minor little issues, but it's good, and it was written by a guy who was a prosecutor for years, and the courtroom stuff is very, very good. So I liked it a lot. Well, Bill says that I am in fact correct about the cubit, which I believe, like I said, is elbow to the fingertips. And of course, the fact that different people have got different length arms causes all kinds of trouble. Then what do? Take it off the king's arm, and of course, when the king dies, you get a new king, and I don't know, you're all over the place. So Overkill Pinball says, you seriously upgraded your chair. How long has it been since you saw a live stream? I upgraded that chair about a year ago, I think. Solaris long hauler rail fan says, talking about Oak Island, how long will they keep it going before they have to produce something? Well, I'm sure you caught the previews this year if you watch the History Channel. They found a silver coin that somebody claims was found in the money pit over 100 years ago. And somehow they just found it in season 9 or whatever it is now. And the provenance of it is whatever word this means. So James Milano, hi Steve from Puebla, Mexico, just got here. Just checking in. See what condition my condition is in. Shex Densmore, a wind turbine powered boat propeller. I should have said that. Femur 15, better late than never. Femur. I don't know why, but femur is a funny name for a bone. Oh, Mike Lackner, Leonard Nimoy planted the Oak Island seed. Yeah, because Unsolved Mysteries, I think, did an episode on it. And several did, but of course, the funniest part of all is if you simply ask yourself, what evidence was there ever that there was something out there, and remove all the speculation and stop calling it the money pit, which is the one thing they never found in that hole is money. Oh, boy. Yeah, the prodigal stranger, a few more trips to Europe would prove a Templar connection. Templar and a Roman connection. Sub GR says this means wishy-washy. It could also mean sketchy or questionable. Chuck Whitehead, you think they need to rewrite the law on AI in courts, stiffen fines or penalties? Well, if they catch people turning in, and by the way, I did the video about somebody's turned in evidence that was AI generated, and it was a deep fake. And the judge went nuts and went after the people who turned it in. And one of the first comments on the video, somebody wrote, yeah, it's always because stupid, lazy lawyers do this kind of stuff. And I read the comment and I decided not to respond to it because it seemed too easy. But the person who turned in the deep fake was pro per. They did not have an attorney. An attorney didn't do it. It was not an attorney. Stupid, lazy lawyers just do that. A lawyer is going to risk their license by doing that. So no, they would not do that. Terrell Cockrum says, even if they don't find anything on Oak Island, they are finding cultural treasures. Yeah, but the question is, no one's ever thought to do this. How many of those treasures would they find on a nearby island of like size and age? It's just that they're devoting so much attention to tearing that island apart that they're finding everything out there. So, Wild Bill 57 says, that's it. I've decided after today, not watching any more live streams for the rest of the year. Now, I did mention I might be inclined to do one, but I don't know. We'll see. I am going to put up a video, I think, on Wednesday. Would it be Wednesday? Which will be New Year's Eve, right? I'm going to put up a video on New Year's Eve listing the top 10 video performers of this year on my channel. I did that a couple years ago. Didn't do that well, but some people liked it, and it's not that hard to do, so I'll throw them together. Jerry Dodge says both Google and Bing are notorious for including AI content at the top of the results, which can be misleading to many. Yeah, and that's the sad part because don't get me wrong, just Googling something, you get the wrong answer also. But I've seen AI answers that are just so far off. I'm like, what? No. Taffy, Adam, 6031 live Lehto. Or to be Lehto. Eastwind thinks humorous is a funny name for a bone. The problem is, out of context, it doesn't sound like a bone. Humorous sounds like just funny. But femur, it's pretty much that, So Bob Loblaws' Wikipedia asks for donations almost every time I use it. Oh, if you pull it up on a phone, it's literally a thing like this. You got to scroll through to get to the text. Here's the funny part. I get asked all the time about what my thoughts are on AI and large language models and so on, Chat GPT. And I've had people go, Steve, it's gonna take away your job as a lawyer. I'm not worried about that. I really am not. But I'll tell you right now who it's going to destroy: Wikipedia. Because people go to Wikipedia for a quick answer. When they type the question into Google or Chrome or whatever it is, the answer that pops up right there, 9 times out of 10, answers the same thing you'd have gotten if you'd gone to Wikipedia. And I wouldn't be surprised if these messages begging for donations are because their traffic is down. I'll bet Wikipedia's traffic is down and continues to crash. And what's funny is a couple of years ago, that site would have been worth billions of dollars. And the guy refused to sell it. He kept it a nonprofit and he hung on to it too long. And it's going to be a great example of somebody who, I don't know, MySpace or something. Oh, Joanne Kozlowski, why a British bar? Why not a national bar? What are you talking about? Deanne Boyd, Wikipedia, where information goes to die. Greg Stevens, 7990. I know you do not usually handle criminal law. Do you have any thoughts on new Oklahoma DUI laws? They're going to do non-refusal blood tests on roadblocks, I think maybe for marijuana as well. I've handled a lot of drunk driving cases in my career, but the real thing that causes the arguments is the roadblocks. And there are a ton of cases on that and a lot of argument about it. So Bob Kerflugen says Wikipedia's donations actually cover their operating expenses several times over. They spend more on donating to social causes. Is that true? I never heard that before. I don't think that is going to save them from AI taking away their job, but Joanne Kozlowski, aren't we supposed to separate from Britain? Yeah, we declared our independence in 1776. We squabbled about it a little bit, and we wrote a constitution in 1789, added the Bill of Rights a few years later, and we've been Americans, depends on when you want to measure it, from either 76 or 89 going forward. So there you go. Blah, blah, blah. Ask Jeeves about the future of Wikipedia. Jerry Dodge, the U.S. will be 250 years old next year. Doug Jones is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, a Christmas movie. I haven't seen it in so long. I mean, I vaguely remember it. Solara says the one big problem with AI is only as good as the person that's submitting the information. But keep in mind that a lot of the AIs out there simply scrape language. It doesn't know what's right or wrong. It just scrapes language, words. So you're hoping that the words most commonly used are correct. Tyler Pasquale got my Turban Car book. Can't wait to break it open on my next day off. Thanks, Steve. You're welcome, my friend. Thanks for letting me know. MHOH says, I thought they wrote it in 1783 and ratified it. Well, yeah, but the only date that matters is ratification, I would think. Because prior to that, it was just an idea. Greg Benson, when will the reprint of your other book be available? You mean the Plymouth Superbird and Dodge Daytona? I don't know yet. Don't know. As soon as I know, I'll let you know. Kurt 3548 is removed from a drunk driving case when I had jury duty because I had a previous drunk driving arrest. That's a common thing they'll ask. And you said I felt I was the most qualified juror. That's quite true. Joanne Kozlowski, why the British Bar Association? I don't know. We've got our bar association, they've got theirs. I mean, I'm assuming they're allowed to have their own bar association. Isn't that how it works? Mark Miller, 5606. So, any New Year's resolutions you wish to share? I'm one of these guys where if I thought I needed to do something new, I would just start doing it today. Why wait? Oh, boy. Oops. Actually, well, no, hang on a second. (1787) was accepted by the delegates. 17, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and 1789 North Carolina, and then it was accepted by Rhode Island without a constitutional convention. So I don't know. I was when I was giving that answer, I was trying to say something else, but Z Mimis, I Greenheart, love you. You are awesome. Is there a difference meaning between the green hearts and red hearts? Awesome. Does your Haro have cable-less derailleurs? I've never had cable-less things on my bike. Never have. I mean, I've got hydraulic brakes, disc brakes, but no. Do they work electrically? I mean, I assume that at that point you could be riding along one day and your battery goes bad, right? Burning Sensation says, "Don't get swallowed by a whale." Is that a reference to the song? Oh, Z Mimi's, yes, not a creepy love you, just respect. Chief FC 1932. Sorry, I'm late again. How's everyone doing? Doing well. Doing well. Yeah, I am says Greenheart is platonic and Redheart is romantic. And of course, they're carbon neutral, says Darkwood 777. Jerry Dodge says the Greenheart, according to AI, represents growth, harmony, and nature. Oh, Dougie do. I use Google Maps Street View in Lantana and saw many, many cars parked on the grass there. How'd they get away with arbitrarily finding just the one lady? I suspect that she got on their radar somehow and they would go by and check on her all the time. But I don't know that for a fact. I also got a very, very angry email from a guy who goes, "Oh, Steve, you're completely wrong. Lantana did nothing wrong there." I'm thinking to myself, is that you, the mayor? Oh. Somehow there's an argument going on about bar exams and so on, and I'm not going to address any of that, especially because nobody asked me. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Greg Stevens, that case about parking on the grass is completely unreasonable. The real thing about it is that most rules they say you can't do this, you must do that, and if it's stuff that we're talking about that's aesthetic, you got to look at the spirit of the rule. I would think and err on the side of, gee, these cars are all drivable. These people are all driving them and they're being moved every single day and they're plated and registered and insured. Is it really that big of a deal? So there you go. Blah, blah, blah. You can't park in the grass. You can't smoke grass in the park. Vinny Northwest, why did they start HOAs in the first place? The thing about it is that they can make sense as long as you're not crazy. And the problem is that they're like anything else where people are involved and bad people can make bad HOAs and good people can make HOAs good. So, yeah, Rock Madness says, unfortunately, you have to obey the laws even if they're stupid. And one argument I've made to people before is you understand that maybe you need to go and get involved at the city council level and possibly get involved in some elections and maybe talk about, changing some rules a little bit or, whatever. So, Mark Miller says Vinny Northwest, he's pointing out to him that HOAs are a cheaper way to develop land. And that quite often is the case. So you buy a gigantic parcel, like 40 acres, right? And you're going to put like 80 homes out there and you're going to have like winding streets and all this stuff. Um, the local municipality might say, hey, we don't want to take care of those streets or those roads. You got to do that. And so now suddenly people have all got to pitch in and do it. So you need an organization that can raise the money or keep the money coming in. Taffy Adams 6031. I love your channel. Keep it up. Thank you. I appreciate that. Johnny Quest wondering what the unofficial cannonball time is for a backdraft Cobra. I wonder what it'd be like to take a road trip like that in an open top car for several days. I bet your body'd be buzzing when you got to the other side because you'd be like, just from all the wind noise and everything else happening. Image Doc races a new law in California to require child seats for 8 to 16-year-olds based on a 5-point test of their body size. When I was 16, I was 6 feet tall. It's taller than my mom. Doug Jones, I don't know, are HOA board members volunteers or are they paid? I'm assuming that most of them are volunteers, which means they're doing it because they're on a power trip, the bad ones. But I wouldn't be surprised if some got paid if they're very, very busy. Bob Blah Blah's got wind gusts in Cincinnati. One blew a flagpole over. Wow. That makes you wonder about the strength to weight ratio of the aluminum pole. Oh, do you think you could, Stuff Writer, do you think you could successfully sue for your client buying a junk used car under the principle of blind misconduct? I've never heard of blind misconduct. Mark Miller, but did your mom wear a seatbelt? I'm sure she did. Andrew Kruchowski, Philadelphia, nondescript gray day. I've got 38 degrees and some rain. Let's see if I got, yep, still raining. But there's no deer out there anymore. '78 here in Texas, Cody Prine. Oh boy, Dan Boyd's doing a wind check. Hey, user UF9HR5JMC2C says, I'm alive in Corpus Christi, Texas. Stuff Writer, where the used car dealer knows something is wrong with the car but doesn't share it with the client. Okay, that could be misrepresentation, common law. But the problem is that most car dealers in Michigan sell their vehicles as is, and that shifts the burden pretty much to the point where you got to know what you're buying when you buy it. I've heard of an extremely rare number of oddball cases, usually like in small claims court, where an extremely bad car gets sold to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, and everybody knew it was bad at the dealership, and they're like, "Hey, we sold it as is," you know. But just simply selling the bad car by itself won't do it. It's a better case if the person lies and says, "Hey, this car runs great, and I drove it myself, and I know that for a fact," and makes objectively measurable statements about the quality of the car, not subjectively unmeasurable statements about the car. SZG65 says root beer is caffeine free. But is all root beer caffeine free, or is it simply available caffeine free? Because I love root beer. I always do, although I haven't had any in a while. Oh, that would be John Nowak Jr. alive in Corpus Christi. Burning Sensation says, yes, caveat emptor. And caveat venditor is the opposite, which is seller beware. But that's almost never the case. Greg Stevens, 7990, you'd still have to prove the statements. Yeah, we're simply talking about whether something is legally possible versus whether you're going to win. But 99 times out of 100, people call my office with a used car case, and there's zero there. There's almost never anything there. And if there is, then proving it's the hard part. Blah, blah, blah. In West Virginia, we'd boil sassafras roots. It smelled better than it tasted. Yeah, you probably have to water it down with something or cut it with something. Miko Angel says, late Latin is so made up, it's a fake language. Well, it's what we call a dead language, but it's also the basis for much of our English language and others, Spanish, Italian, and so on. Scott Summers, maybe stop by A&W on your way through Standish. Do they still have one there? Is it open in the wintertime or just the summer? Fortis 6258. How many people are in Michigan? And why is the UP part of Michigan and not Wisconsin? I don't know what the population is of the UP, but the reason, and I've talked about this before, I wrote a book about it. I wrote a book about Douglas Houghton, who is the guy who explored Michigan, the Michigan Territory, before it was a state, and then he explored it after it became a state, and he was a state geologist. And we got, excuse me, we got statehood before Wisconsin did. And so the western border of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan was not terribly well defined. And we got to basically set it where we thought it would go. And so we kind of moved it over a little bit. But Ohio had done the same thing to us in the Toledo War. So what are you going to do? Burning sensations. I miss A&W burgers. It's been a while since I've eaten at an A&W. I mean, I know there's a few out there. Oh, yeah. Robert Hodgins. Remember the root beer kits? It's like when they used to sell the, I mean, I know they still do pizza kits too. Angels Don't Fall says the other day my friend said that Hertz Rent-A-Car has the white OJ Bronco wrapped up, sealed tight, and locked in a secret storage facility, and they don't let anyone near it. OJ was their spokesperson. I don't know about that. And the only reason I say that is I've seen that Bronco on other shows. I believe it made an appearance on Pawn Stars where somebody brought it in and wanted the guys to buy it in Vegas. I don't think they did, though. Johnny Z, Dog and Suds root beer. Yeah, I've mentioned this before. There used to be a Dog and Suds in Baraga, Michigan. And somebody realized, hey, we don't need to make this a franchise. And they just turned it into Baraga Drive-In. Jay Klein says Michigan won the Toledo War. Well, most people would say that we came out ahead, but at the time, most people thought we'd lost. Sub GR says, yeah, Otisville and M15. That one's open year round too. And again, didn't actually eat there. Oh boy. Tiger Man 99515. Steve, good holidays. Family doing well? Yes. In fact, I hung out with my dad and my brothers on Christmas Eve down at the old homestead. Fortis, oh yeah, 1848 statehood in Wisconsin. I know Alabama wanted part of the panhandle of Florida. Yeah, and so Wisconsin 1848, Michigan 1837. And a great trivia question is if you look at the state seal of the state of Michigan, the state seal says 1835 in Roman numerals. And most people go, oh, well, we became a state in 35. No. We became a state in 37. Well, why does the state seal say 35? Well, we had a constitutional convention in 1835 and said that we wanted to become a state, and we applied for statehood in 1835. We didn't get it right away because of the Toledo War, and probably because somebody was lazy or they're trying to prove a point. They instead said, leave it. Besides, most people don't know how Roman numerals do anyways. So there you go. Z Mimis, I appreciate your to-the-point videos, and you seem like a genuinely nice person. Either that or my videos are really, really deceptive. So thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Image Doc says the Bronco was not OJ's. Was it L. Cowlings? I don't even remember that now. And Angels Don't Fall says Hertz does own the Bronco. I wouldn't know. Maybe they bought it from the guy who tried to get it into the Pawn Stars. Stefano, there was a Dog and Suds in the Sioux also. A Dog and Suds. Huh. Yeah, I've been to the Sioux a few times recently, but I don't remember that. MH08 is the Wikipedia number of the UP population is 301, 301,000. What I'm curious about is I think Michigan is 7 or 8 million. But yeah, the population of the UP is just a small fraction. but I think land mass wise, it's about 37% of the area of the state of Michigan land. Lon Willis, 783. Happy New Year, Steve. Don't give this up. You're needed. Well, I appreciate that. I have no plans on giving this up. I actually had somebody say to me the other day, they go, Steve, are you going to retire? And I'm like, this isn't exactly heavy lifting. They go, yeah, but like being a lawyer, I've never met a lawyer who actually said, I retire, I quit, I'm done. Every lawyer I know who's retired simply slowed down a little bit. That's it. And writing books again ain't heavy lifting. So I'm going to keep doing what I do until I find it boring or until nature makes me stop. Tin Door Tailgater says an A&W in Almont, Michigan. Really? Hold on a second. Almont. I've been through there recently. I remember that. Steve BM2 says, hello, Steve from Dayton, Ohio. It's a windy 65, and tomorrow will be a windy 25. Oh, our temperature is going to drop. Our temperature is going to plummet overnight. I think we're supposed to get up into the 50s this evening. And then sometime overnight, it's just, it's going to fall off a cliff, which it did that a couple weeks ago, too. So. $858 Bill, I'll never understand why the cops didn't simply block the Broncos' progress instead of allowing it to become the spectacle it was. They weren't expected to become a spectacle. Back then, those things, the news agencies weren't really good on jumping on those stories right away. But also, they were worried because they could have done a pit maneuver on him, but they were concerned because he was so well known. They're like, well, he's not going to get away, so we'll just follow him until we either stops or runs out of gas. Fatty Butterpants, I actually like your second channel better. I put up one video a week there and they're off topic, but I understand that. Jerry Dodge and Kalamazoo, we don't have any more A&Ws, but there are 2 root beer stands, oddly, in the winter. They are both open right now. Darkwood says they are Roman numerals, not Roman numbers, not intended for calculations. MH08 says about 3% of Michigan's population lives in the UP, with just over 10 million total in the state. That sounds about right. I remember it was under 10, but Thomas Oskowski, my lawyer, retired at 80 years old, but he'd been practicing for 50 years. Yeah, I can see where at 80 you might go, you know something? I don't even want to think about this anymore. But JW says, not to brag, but YouTube says I'm in the top 2% of viewers for your channel. I never miss an episode. I greatly appreciate that. I'm going to let you know a couple fact things I'm going to give you here, which you might appreciate. Let me see if I can do this now. I'm going to go to the studio where I get my statistics for my channel. And my channel's been up a little over 10 years. I've got 429 million views. 429 million views. And I've got the 614,000 subscribers. So I appreciate it. Without the audience, I'd just be some guy sitting in a room talking to himself. Oh, boy. Dougie Doo says judges are required to retire at a certain age. Oh, that's a common state thing, where states will say it's not that you age out. They'll often say you cannot run for election or re-election after a certain age. So, Stefano, A&W in Berkeley, 12-mile near Greenfield. I'm familiar with that. I wasn't sure they're still there. That's across the street, kind of, from the bike shop I bought my Raleigh Grand Prix in about 1976 or so, maybe? A long time ago. Travis Eastlick, caught alive. Yes, you did, my friend. Stuff writer, I was wondering what your views were on the traditional path of becoming a lawyer, which is reading law, versus the more modern path of going to law school. I'm not a big fan of the reading law thing. But quite frankly, California for a while has had two paths. And if you're capable of passing the bar exam, I guess on some level, it doesn't really matter how you got there. But the biggest problem we have is the fact that now they're saying, let's do away with the bar exam too. Oh, boy. Freebird, worse is the lawyer who dies early. My in-laws' attorney died. They don't know where their paperwork ended up. In the state of Michigan, about 3 years ago, they passed a new rule, the state bar did, and this is one of the reasons you have a state bar, is they passed a rule saying every attorney who's practicing, who has clients, must designate somebody who will take over their practice for them, at least to help wind things up if they die or become incapacitated. So me and several of my friends have all gotten together and said, okay, I'll take care of your stuff, you take care of my stuff, so that if one of us dies, it's not, gee, where'd happen to all our stuff? It's like, oh, somebody else will step in, notify all these people, hey, you may have heard this guy died. I've got your file now. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Is there a statistic for how many views per day of all of your videos? You'd have to do some math on that. But I can tell you that in a typical 28-day period right now, I get over 6 million views. So is that, I don't know, it's numbers. Darkwood, you're the best live stream on YouTube. Thank you. Anonymous, do cops need a warrant to enter someone's home if they lose the cops in a hot pursuit? This is going to be extremely fact dependent, but there will be exceptions where a police officer could enter a home if they were chasing somebody and they thought they had a reason where time was of the essence. And it could be that the person is going to destroy evidence, they're going to harm somebody. You know, imagine if a person who's armed runs into a house and slams the door behind them. How does the cop know it's their house, first of all? What if that's somebody else's house? What if there's people in that house? You know? So a lot of that stuff is very, very fact specific, but there are all kinds of exceptions to a warrant requirement, but it can get real tricky. And like I said, very, very fact dependent. Chad Crum asks a question only a lawyer would think of. New law banning flipper license plates. What if the device has two license plates, both of which are valid? They would say it's still illegal because the device itself is up to no good. Let's face it. Why would you put two good license plates on a flipper and have them flip for what reason? You know? But generally speaking, most people are using it to break the law. So JW says, for context, I'm a 31-year-old UPS driver. I don't know if I'm your usual demographic. Believe it or not, you're young. You're young. My average demographic is a guy between 55 and 65. And then the next section's out past that, and that's where the meaty part of the curve is. John Laurie, Happy New Year, Steve. Arts 4014, been listening since the beginning. Will only be in your keyboard for 10 to 15 minutes. Steve, what was your first mountain bike? I bought a Haro Extreme, which did not have any suspension at all, front or back, but is an extremely, extremely robust frame. And I beat that thing so bad. I used to I used to. I went through chains. I probably put 4 or 5 different chains on that thing. I went through gear sets. The rear cassette I replaced probably 4 times. The front 2 or 3 times. The bottom bracket was replaced 2 or 3 times. And then I wanted to buy another Haro, but the bike shop didn't have any, so I bought a Mongoose. And I beat on that quite a bit, and I was kind of unhappy with it. And then I got another Haro, which was a full suspension with a monocoque aluminum frame, which is really cool. And then I still have that one, but now I've got the Haro I've got now. And so I've had several mountain bikes, but the first was a Haro. Jason Brindamore, what's the percentage of people doing chores while listening to the live stream? I actually hear from all kinds of people. Like I always, go shopping or dog walking or whatever. Marcus Text says YouTube ages are skewed older because so many people lied when YouTube, Google would still let you, but you had to be 13. I wonder about that because I think they also have other ways of guessing your demographic, but who knows? Sultan of Cardi, I wonder how many viewers you have from Jamaica. Well, if you're there, I'd have at least one, but I've never heard of anybody else from Jamaica. Darkwood, are you drinking coffee or tea? No. This is Gatorade watered down. Dan Boyd's got a Mongoose full suspension. It is heavy and not geared to climb. The reason I didn't like my Mongoose is that the front sprockets weren't replaceable. They were all built into the crank set. And I didn't catch that when I was buying the bike. It was stupid of me. M. Koba, robot just finished vacuuming and mopping the dining room and living room floors. So the robot finished vacuuming, but the robot wasn't mopping, was it? Or was it? Terrell Cockrum at a Giant DST Warp full suspension did the Iceman. Are you talking about where's the Iceman? Because there is an Iceman race in Michigan, but I'm sure they're probably all over. But it's like a turkey trot everywhere. Sometimes I listen to myself when I was a kid. I had a Mongoose, the chrome molly frame. I wanted mag wheels, but I was a kid and couldn't afford them. That's the funny thing is you go into a bike shop now and you see bikes and what they cost, and you're looking. I understand inflation plays in here, but I've looked at a bike and go, that bike there costs like 7 or 8 times what my first car cost. And if I was a little kid today, I couldn't afford this bike, but I can now because I'm an adult. So there you go. Yeah, Mark Miller, the Schwinns. I had a Schwinn Varsity for a while, and a Schwinn Stingray, of course. Everyone had one of those. Yeah, Daniel Kester had the Stingray with a banana seat and a sissy bar. Jerry Dodge, are you familiar with the Dull Men's Club? I see them on Instagram quite a bit. And it's kind of funny because guys will just chime in and ask dumb questions, but they're usually entertainingly dumb. I have no idea how they got into my feed, but they're there. Burning Sensations, how many bikes do you have? I've got 2, but only one is rideable. I hung on to the other one because it's just cool. And someday I might clean it up and get it going. Wild Bill says, when I started following you, I was in the demographic you mentioned, but I've now since aged out. Oh no, all that happens is you move towards one end of that bell curve, but you're fine. Frank Ponce, Vipers are not increasing in value like other exotics. Do you think it's because the rest of the world sees them as just an American muscle car? I'm not sure about that. Mine hasn't gone down in value, but you know, with anything else, it's like watch Antiques Roadshow or I would never buy a car as an investment. I mean, obviously, if somebody presented one to me, say, "Steve, you want to buy this car? It's normally $1 million, but you can have it for 100." Yeah, of course. But I mean, I bought the Viper because I think it's a cool car. I've had it for 5 years. I'm not planning on selling it anytime soon. I suspect that when I do go to sell it, I'll get more for it than what I paid for it. So that's all I care about. But I'm not even worried about it. MH0862 had a Typhoon. Yeah, Typhoon is more of an upright non-Stingray bike that Schwinn made, a Schwinn Typhoon. My brother had a Typhoon. Darkwood 777. When I was 13, I got a bike on my birthday, which I missed dearly. Blah blah blah. Does Jay Leno own a Viper? Yeah, he owns two. He owns two, and he owns one from the first year of production, and then he owns, I think, his first year of production, but it's a it's the open top, and then he's got a hard top later in later years. So he's got two Vipers. I've talked to him about those. Sam as I am, Viper, Jay Leno owes everything. No, he's got no Ferraris. He's got no Tucker. He's got no winged cars. There's a few cars he hasn't got yet. And I say yet because he very well could get those cars in the future. Oh yeah, Johnny Z. Bradley. Remember the Schwinn crates, like the apple crate and the cotton picker and yeah. And those, by the way, have become extremely collectible and extremely expensive last few years. Daniel Kester, my banana seed had tiger stripes. That's a very appropriate thing for the time period. Frank Ponce, did you compete in BMX? No, we didn't have BMX when I was a little kid. We just had the Stingrays, and then 10 speeds. And then it was right around when I was in law school. I heard people getting mountain bikes. I'm like, what? And I came back from law school, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, dude, you got to go mountain biking." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "We go every single Sunday morning to a park in Rochester, Michigan, and we ride bikes and trails out in the woods. It's a blast." And I actually borrowed a bike from somebody, went with him, and had so much fun. I think the first weekend or second weekend after, I went to the bike shop and bought the first Haro I bought. And then I'm scared to know how many miles I put on that bike. I've had speedometers on a couple bikes, and I've never really tracked it closely, but I wouldn't be surprised to put thousands and thousands and thousands of miles on that bike all year round, spring, summer, winter, fall, waist deep in water. It didn't matter. Snow, summer. It was crazy. And later on, was riding places like Pontiac Lake and Potawatomi and Island Lake and so on. So SZG, I don't think he has a Bricklin. No, he does not. Anonymous. I wonder if Jay Leno has a Yugo. I do not believe he does. He's got a lot of oddball cars, and I wouldn't be surprised if he added one to his collection when it came along. Terrell Cochran, when I went to Gilmore Car Museum, they had a Tucker. Yes, they still have it. And it's a very nice Tucker. Sub GR is going to check out, have a good one or two. Yeah, and actually, it just started raining harder. I mean, it is coming down hard. Johnny the bike guy calls out that curved top tube on Haros. Yeah, the top tube is not straight. It's usually bent down like that, but they're still robust. Jerry Dodge, the Celery Flats here in Kalamazoo, links to the Cal Haven Trail going to South Haven. I tried it once, but turned around and gave up, not even halfway there. A long time ago, I did that bike ride that was sponsored by the Free Press. That started out, I think it starts in Kalamazoo, goes to Grand Haven, and then or South Haven, and then comes back and then also you could do the ride out there and back, and then all the way back to East Side. John Zablak, the roll fast. Yeah, I had a roll fast before I had a Schwinn. Roll fast was like the cheap version of a bike you could buy as a kid. SZ is pointing out his first name is also Stephen with a V. Stephen with a V. And by the way, I've had some people ask me, and they say, "Hey, Steve, what's the joke about Stephen with a V?" And so once in a while, I tell stories on here that have explain something, and I won't tell it again for a long time. And so some people get the joke, and some people don't. But years ago, I decided as a professional thing to call myself Steve, not Steven, Steve, because all my friends call me Steve. Everyone I know calls me Steve. I introduce myself as Steve, and I'm always bothered by people who go, "Oh, my name is Steve," and you go, "Okay, Steve." Well, Steven. Don't correct me if I. And so I've met professionals who have their pleadings with their legal name on it, and they walk up and they go, "Well, yeah, that's me, but you can call me such and such." And I always thought that was odd. So I've always called myself Steve. So with the Michigan Bar Association, I am Steve Lehto. If you look me up in the Michigan Bar Journal, I am Steve Lehto. My pleadings, Steve Lehto. I signed my name, Steve Lehto, Steve Lehto, Steve Lehto. And so I went into a deposition one time with a court reporter I didn't know. And she goes, "Would you state your appearance to the record?" I'm Steve Lehto, Lehto. And she goes, "How do you spell Steve?" I go, "I'm sorry, Steve." And she goes, "With an N?" And I know what she's getting at, but I go, "No, Steve, just Steve. It's Steve." She goes, "But on your birth certificate, what is it?" And I go, "Doesn't matter. I call myself Steve." She goes, "What about your driver's license?" I go, "It doesn't matter. I call myself Steve." And she goes, "But is it a V or a PH?" I go, "It's you can only spell Steve with a V." And she's going, "But your name is really Steven, though, right?" And I look at her and I go, "Says who?" I go, "Look it up in the bar journal." And she looks in the bar journal and says, "Steve." So I don't know if she honestly thought my name was legitimately Steve with no N, but I don't care what she thinks. My name is officially Steve for legal purposes. Now, did it just get dark in here? It did, didn't it? That's how overcast it got outside. So luckily, we're getting ready to wrap this thing up. So. Padre, I worked in a shop that had 27 guys, 7 of us with the same first name. Oh, that's the funny thing is it's less common now, but when I was in elementary school, there were 3 kids in some of my classes, all named Steve. And I know people. There was a time when Jennifer and David were the 2 most common names being given to boys and girls in America. And I have a brother named Dave, and he'd go to school and be like 5 kids named Dave in his class. So. Yeah, Andrew Kruchowski, Steve with 3 P's and a silent Q. And then there's an O with a line through it. Oh, somebody asked can we get to 300 likes. We're at 300. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're at 177. We got 341 people in the room. Terrell Cockerman is raining and freezing rain in Cadillac. Harry Selden, yeah, I could start the conversation by saying I'm Steve Lehto, but you can call me Steve. Jerry Dodge, I once got stuck at an airport in Raleigh during a layover because I stepped out of security and went back in a few hours later, rejected because my ticket said Jerry. My license said Gerald. That's the kind of thing nowadays that will screw you up. Absolutely. And so I do pay very, very close attention to those kinds of things on airplane tickets and so on. But like I said, if you're simply talking about my pleadings and the legal documents, use Steve. And I've never had a judge go, "Oh, is that Steven?" No. If I turn the lights on, let's see what happens. See, does that help or does that make it look weirder? We'll take an informal straw poll. Let me know if I should leave those on or off. Blah, blah, blah. And it's raining all over the world. Austin P. Foster says it's weirder. And Aviva Roberto says it's better. That helps. Looks good. That helps. All good. Ghostly. Little bright, but not overwhelming. How about if I go like, well, nope. Nope. It's one of those ones that I can pivot around a little bit. What's really hurting it is the glasses, though, I think. Without those, it'd be much better. It's coming down again in Flat Rock, says Jason Brindamar. Flat Rock is a town south of Detroit. Well, southish. Now everybody's saying off. Oh, boy. Well, maybe if I really... How about that? Jerry Dodge says Kalamazoo is very calm for now. Oh, boy. Sometimes a listener myself says you could change your name to Steve with no N. That's true. And I always thought it would be funny if somebody had gotten the website DOT so that their website could be www.com. Spell out the middle one. I'm sure somebody's got it. Bill McMahon says Mustangs are built in Flat Rock. Yeah, Ford's had a presence in Flat Rock for some time. They also built Mazdas there as a joint operation of some sort. Light is funny because now people are probably looking going, wait, what's that back there? What's that? What's that weird thing back there? D. Gack says you could get that Star Trek lighting where your head is dark and shadow, but there's a little patch on your eyes. Oh, boy. Jason Brindamar says Edison had a bulb factory in Flat Rock. Wow. And a lot of people don't know that Thomas Edison had some kind of connections with Port Huron, Michigan, which is up on the side of the thumb across from Canada. Lion Zookeeper, it's been raining here west of Flint, Michigan all day. Jerry Dodge, I'm sure me watching and chatting on your streams has gotten you to say Kalamazoo more times. I just like to say it. It's a fun thing to say. Is that red thing on your left a yo-yo? Yes, it is. And hang on. Come on. Okay. Got to make sure I don't hit anything. Oh. Bingo. Just to prove to you I can do that. Looks like a Duncan. No, it's a Yomega. Can you walk the dog? Of course. But you wouldn't be able to see it off camera. It's a Yomega Fireball. And again, this is not an endorsement. It just happens to be what I use. What do you use when you're yo-yoing? Fatty Butterpants says Edison went by Tommy. That's with no H. Robert Hodgins, didn't Edison not grow up near Port Huron? I think he didn't not grow up near Port Huron. Jason Brindamar, can you yo-yo while metal detecting? No, because I'm right-handed, and I use the detector in the right hand. Dan Boyd, remember the ones which lit up from centrifugal force? Yeah, he had to put batteries in them. Johnny Z, is that a jump rope on the shelf below? No, that is a cable with XLRs on it. On the rare occasions I do voiceovers on videos, I record them on that. There's a little recording device right there, and that's an XLR cable that plugs into the back of the RE20. Mike Lackner suggests I could get a lava lamp to provide some great ambiance. Edison was born in Milan, Ohio, or Milan, Ohio. I did not know that. John Laurie won. Sal Gucco, wooden yo-yos in my youth. I remember when the Duncans came out, the Duncan Imperial and Duncan Butterfly. But I remember, there's always a phase like every couple of years with yo-yos coming around. Doc Death 904. I used to have 60 yo-yos, then my house burned down. 60 yo-yos? Were you collecting them, or were any of them rare? What was going on there? Daniel Kester, are you any good with the game Cats in the Cradle? No, I've seen people do that, but I never got into that. There was always like 2 or 3 girls in my class in elementary school who were doing that in one corner or another. Harry Seldon, there used to be a band named the New Duncan Imperials. Never heard of that. Darkwood had to share his yo-yo with his brother. The indignity of it. SKS Hugo. I was too short to use my first yo-yo. I had to stand on a chair. Oh, boy. Tin door tailgate or yo-yo on a unicycle. I will admit I don't remember if I ever tried that. Because I went through a phase where I was riding a unicycle around the neighborhood for a couple summers. Arts 4014. Are you bummed that you didn't get the Edmund Fitzgerald life ring? Yeah, I would have liked to get it. It would have been fun to actually say that I was a part of the story, and I could then, lend it to a museum and let them display it. But I just hope it turns up. As of right now, we don't know who got it. So Silent Hangus, does Michigan have an exemption for people operating an implement of husbandry with a revoked driver's license? Even on the roads? I'm not sure I understand the question. Fatty Butterpants, yo-yos are a pretty good self-defense item. I believe, according to Ripley's Believe It or Not, they're used as weapons in some societies. Not making that up. But of course, that's according to Ripley's Believe It or Not, which means, of course, you can choose to not believe it. Sean M., can you still ride a unicycle? I haven't tried in a long time. My brother still has one, and he can ride it. I tell people this next sentence, but nobody believes me. My brother rode a unicycle across Iowa in the Ragbri ride, documented from one end of Iowa to the other end. So, yeah. He still has a unicycle. Doc Death likes the Omega. Lion Zookeeper, I broke my brother's collarbone with a yo-yo. Did you throw it at him? Robert Hodgson says, according to an Edison biography, he lived in Port Huron from 1854 to 1857. Dan Boyd, how long did it take to traverse Iowa? If you look up Ragbri, Ragbrai, or Ragbri, it's an organized ride to do every single year across Iowa. It's a big event, but it's bicycles. And my brother contacted him and said, can I do it on a unicycle? I said, if you think you can, knock yourself out. And he did. Oh, boy. Arts 4014 says if you got it as part of your backdrop, you could call it a business expense. Arguably, yes. Oh, Marcus says mountain unicycling. Yeah, no, I have zero desire to do that. Zero. Yeah. Unicycles do involve a lot of falling down, even if you're good on them. And I can't imagine doing it off road. What a nightmare. Yeah, Janet K says RAGBRAI is an acronym which stands for the Register's Annual Great Bike Ride Across Iowa. And the Register, I'm believing, is a newspaper there in Iowa. Yeah, Tim P says it RAGBRAI is a week to cross the state. Yeah, Des Moines Register, Nailhead 59. Janet K says she did not deliver that paper as a youngster. um, Doc Death says I liked an Imperial, but butterflies are decent too. Yeah, but the Omega actually, there's something about the design and the bearing in the center of it. It spins much longer, much faster, at least for me. So Johnny Quest, unicycles and yo-yos. I'm guessing Ed Sullivan show is popular in the Lehto household. I've mentioned this before, but my family did not have a television set for a few years. From the time I was in kindergarten until the time I was in fourth grade, we had no TV set. So there was a lot of stuff I missed culturally that was on television. Steve G, don't start talking about frisbees. I love frisbees. I haven't thrown one in a while, only because I grew up. But oh my, I had so much fun with the frisbees in junior high and high school. I used to bring one to school and play with it. Any spare time I had, including at lunch. If we had time, we could run around. But yeah, SZ says, I don't need to reply to your comments. They're more FYI unless I ask a question. Well, no, but a lot of people make statements, and if I find it interesting comments, I'll comment. Don't worry, I don't feel obligated. Sometimes I listen to myself. Thanks so much. These lives are always great. Thank you. Appreciate that. I've never played frisbee golf, and people always ask me about that. And to me, it was more fun to just play with somebody else and just throw it back and forth. And you can do tricks, tipping it and catching behind your back and that kind of stuff. But I was never that into throwing it at things, except to somebody I was playing catch with. I am says that I just remembered the time I broke someone's tooth with a frisbee. Ooh, not good. Greg Hansen, snow soon in DUP. I think they're getting something like possibly 24 inches. There are blizzard warnings for the Upper Peninsula right now, and I've got friends who live up there, and so yeah, it is. It's coming. Oh, Rick had a lab collie mix who loved retrieving frisbees. I've seen people who've trained their dogs, and the dogs love that. Yeah. I never tried that with Milo and Wolfie. They weren't fetchers. They were herders. So Dave Bealers is an Edison home in Fort Myers, Florida, which is a good tour. Did not know about that. Old paint. I wasn't aware that it wasn't snowing in the UP between September and July. There are only a few months where you can actually say it will not snow up here in the UP. That's generally June and July. May wouldn't surprise me. August wouldn't surprise me at the end, It's always possible. Arts 4014, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Yeah, old paint. The German Shepherd catches the frisbee and then just wanders around with it. Yeah, because some dogs will chase something down but not bring it back. Hey, Canadian robot lady's in the house with 1 minute to 3. So sorry. Oh boy. Steve BM, do people hoard the grocery stores in the UP? Are they used to it? No, they're so used to it. They'll get 2 feet of snow and they won't cancel stuff. They don't snow. Oh, Canadian Robot Lady, Happy New Year's, everyone. I'll catch y'all next year. That's true. No, I understand, and Heather will tell you that sadly she often is busy during this time frame, so there's only so much we can do about that. But to stop and even say hello for a minute, we do greatly appreciate it. Harry Seldon, next in the lottery gets big, you should do a video on how to deal with a big win like that. Oh, what you do is you take the cash right now. You then create an irrevocable trust. You put all the money into an irrevocable trust that pays you a certain amount per year, and you make it to where the amount that it pays you is enough to live rich, but not stupid. And so if you get annual payments from the trust, you won't wind up like those idiots who go broke in 6 months going, I didn't think the money could run out. Oh, boy. Yeah, MH08 says I needed a foot of snow to close school in Minnesota. Never closed because of the cold. Edge 5218 just wanted to stop by and say hello. Lock Watcher, Steve, thanks for the great year of live streams. Mark Miller, they said they saw snow on July 4th in Metro Denver a few years back. I was in the UP in August one year and it started raining, and all of a sudden I noticed it was fluffy. And I'm like, wait, it wasn't enough to shovel, but it was in the air. Sultan of Cardio. Wait, Canadian Robot Lady is a real person? Yes. I've done videos about how real she is. Oh, Bob blah blah says in Florida they're opening the shelters because it'll drop to 65. The greatest thing of all is when they actually issue the alerts about the iguanas falling out of the trees. It gets so cold that the iguanas just boom, and they fall. They lose their grip and they fall. And sometimes they survive, sometimes they don't. Depends on how cold it gets. Steve 2 Clue, be well, my friend. Got to go. See you next year. And to you, my friend. Yeah, Doug Jones, if you win the lottery, first thing you do is hide. Don't tell people you won. Don't tell people. Iguanacicles. That's what you call them, Darkwood. There you go. Well, anyways, we've been here. I've been here for over 2 hours. So Heather, thank you for stopping in. I apologize for cutting you off like this, but I'm worn out. But I will talk to you guys later. I'm going to try to do a live stream maybe in the next few days as we lead up to New Year's. But even if I don't, I will do a countdown of the top 10 videos that I had this year. the best performing videos in the last 365 days. So we'll do that. And otherwise, I will certainly be back here next year, and that would be on January 4th. My calendar looks good. I'll talk to you guys then. Bye-bye.